Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today. We're going to do something really cool. We're distilling the daily routines of some of the most highly successful people on the planet into a clear foundation to execution arc. Basically, we're unpacking 5 daily habits that, when you stack them together, create this amazing blueprint for peak performance. And look, we're not just throwing around vague self-help advice here. No way. We're diving into hard data, real neuroscience, and proven frameworks to show you exactly why these habits matter, and more importantly, how you can actually pull them off. Tony Schwartz hit the nail on the head with this idea. We live in this modern hustle culture where it's almost a badge of honor to trade sleep for what we think is success. But seriously, who really has the time to be tired? Think about it. When you're exhausted, literally everything is harder. We push ourselves so hard for that extra edge, the next big thing, thinking that sacrificing an hour of sleep is the magic answer. But as the research clearly shows, that's a total myth. Sleep deprivation just crushes our cognitive capacity. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're building a peak performance pyramid using 5 keystones. First, protecting your sleep. Second, daily physical movement. Third, mental visualization. Fourth, prioritizing deep work. And finally, bringing it all together with habit stacking. Habit 1. Protect your sleep. This is our biological foundation. Let's look at this fascinating 2010 IBM CEO study. It highlights something wild about elite executives. The business world is getting insanely complex, right? And to navigate that, creativity is actually the single most important leadership quality to have. But here's the catch. Lacking sleep completely tanks a leader's clarity, their judgment, and their emotional regulation. When you are running on empty, you just can't cope with complexity or come up with those creative solutions. So sleep, it's not some luxury. It's a fundamental requirement for leading well. And hey, if the brain fog doesn't convince you, let's talk dollars and cents. $1,967. According to the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine, that is the estimated annual cost per employee strictly from productivity losses tied to fatigue. Just let that sink in. Sleep is absolutely a financial imperative for literally any organization. To really get why this happens, we have to peek at the neuroscience. When you get a good night's rest, 2 super important things happen. First, your brain starts processing and organizing all that complex info from the day. Second, it actually hits the off switch on your body's stress response. Cognitive neuroscientists tell us that squeezing by on just 5 or 6 hours completely limits your brain's ability to do this. But if you just protect your rest, getting a mere 30 extra minutes of sleep literally pays for itself. It gives you back at least 30 minutes of peak productivity, sharper decision-making, and way better emotional control the next day. Moving right along to habit 2, daily physical movement. This is our behavioral foundation. Now, we aren't just talking about hitting the gym to look good. We're talking about movement as a tool to organize your entire life. Ever heard of a keystone habit? It's a concept made famous by Charles Duhigg and James Clear. Basically, a keystone habit is a routine that sparks this awesome cascade of other positive actions. It's the one habit that kind of magically puts the rest of your life in place. And physical fitness, it's arguably the ultimate keystone habit. James Clear likes to call this the domino effect. When you work out, you don't just build muscle, you trigger a whole chain reaction. Suddenly, you naturally want to eat better. You start craving a real meal instead of hitting the vending machine. You sleep so much deeper. And for hours after that workout, your mind is just clearer and your focus is sharper. So exercising isn't just an isolated chore on your to-do list. It automatically knocks down all these other bad habits without you having to dig deep for extra willpower. All right, let's shift gears a bit. Habit 3, mental visualization. This is all about psychological conditioning. Okay, get a load of this number because it is staggering. 30%. Research in sports psychology reveals that athletes who practice specific visualization techniques can actually boost their muscle coordination by 30% compared to those who don't. 30%. And look, this isn't just about thinking happy thoughts. We're talking about a scientifically proven brain-body connection where mental imagery fires up the exact same neural pathways as actually physically performing the action. It's wild. Elite athletes, think Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian ever, rely on this big time. They have this specific imagery toolkit, skill imagery to dial in their technique, strategy imagery to rehearse their tactical moves, and goal imagery to actually picture winning. Get this, scientists have literally hooked up electrodes to athletes' legs and watched as the brain sent actual electrical signals to the muscles during visualization, signals that perfectly match the physical terrain they were imagining. It's an entire mental training ground, completely free of physical strain. Next up on the pyramid,
Habit 4, prioritize deep work. This is where we get into your daily output.
And this brilliantly illustrates the modern workplace dilemma we all face. On one side, you have the frantic, totally distracted worker just buried under a mountain of notifications, emails, and constantly reacting to the loudest problem. And on the other side, Cal Newport's vision of distraction-free concentration. Let's be real, most of our modern workplaces are optimized for the appearance of being busy, not for actually producing meaningful work.
So we've got to get really good at distinguishing between deep work and shallow work. Deep work is cognitively demanding. It pushes your skills to the absolute limit and creates genuine value. Shallow work, on the other hand, is the logistical, administrative stuff that pretty much anyone could do. If you're ever on the fence about a task, just use the 1-minute test. If a reasonably intelligent person could learn to do it with just 2 weeks of training, yeah, it's almost certainly shallow work.
And here is the uncomfortable truth. Studies consistently show that most knowledge workers spend fewer than 3 hours of a standard 8-hour workday doing genuine cognitive effort. Less than 3 hours. The rest is just noise, dressed up to look like productivity. So it is absolutely crucial that you audit how you spend your time. You have to ruthlessly protect your peak cognitive hours. Silence those pings, block off your calendar, and carve out unbroken time for real, deep output.
Okay, bringing it all home now. Habit 5, practice habit stacking. These are the behavioral mechanics that make everything work.
To actually wire these new habits into our daily lives, we turn to James Clear's atomic framework. He maps out 4 fundamental laws of behavior change: the cue, which triggers the behavior, the craving that gives you the motivation, the response, which is the actual routine, and finally, the reward that reinforces it all. If you want to have it to truly stick, you have to design your environment to play nicely with these 4 laws. One of the absolute best ways to do this is a technique called habit stacking. Basically, you anchor a brand new behavior directly onto an established routine you already do every single day. So let's say you want to start doing that mental visualization we just talked about. You don't just cross your fingers and hope you find 5 free minutes. You stack it. You say, immediately after I pour my morning coffee, I'm going to do 3 minutes of goal imagery. You're using an old automatic habit to effortlessly kick off a new one. So the crucial point here is that we are relying on the power of marginal gains. You don't need some massive overnight overhaul of your entire routine. Nope, we are just looking for a 1% daily improvement. By integrating these small, manageable changes right into your existing habits, they become automatic. And over time, those tiny little 1% gains compound. That is exactly how massive transformations suddenly feel completely effortless. I want to leave you with a personal challenge today. We've talked about protecting your sleep, daily movement, visualization, deep work, and habit stacking. So what is your one keystone habit that, if you started it today, would make everything else naturally fall right into place? Take a second to really think about it and find it. Start small. Stack it onto something you already do every day. The system is entirely in your hands, and the power to change your life forever starts with just a tiny 1% shift tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching this explainer, and I will see you next time.